We are live with Grant Harling, Maria Capp, and Johnny James Fiore from Reach the Movie. They're all actually like writers and producers on the movie, and also Johnny and Grant actually act in the movie. How are you guys?
Doing well. How's everyone doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Hey, good to be here again, Chelsea. Thank you so much. And we should say Chelsea was in the movie as well.
He was.
It was.
Yeah, I am. It's like weird. I'm just like interviewing you guys, but then I forget I'm like in the movie when I'm talking about it. Completely goes over my head. But Reach the Movie is basically an anti-bullying movie, I would say, about a kid named Steven who is going through a lot. He's like depressed with just stuff that's going on in his life, and about a kid named Johnny's character actually, who plays Clarence. Just coming in and being a friend to this person, and how you can essentially save someone's life by just reaching out and being a friend. Of course, you guys can go into it and explain it a little bit better if you guys want.
You pretty much nailed it there, but yeah, I mean, it is about that one tiny gesture and how much of an impact it can make, the littlest thing in somebody's life.
Yeah, I'll just echo that, especially in the current world we live in. Tiny things can make a huge difference, especially if it's only in that one moment. And sometimes we lose sight of that. It's only that one moment that matters. So the movie is about this amazing, uninhibited, unscathed kid who's new, and that's Clarence West, who comes into a brick and mortar, small liberal arts kind of private school, and just immediately has no problem being himself and connecting with and standing up for the young man, Stephen Toronto. Stephen, character played by Garrett Clayton, who really does a great job of showing the subtleties of inner struggling that a high school student has, and shows throughout the arc of the piece his awkwardness. And then Clarence just really is a catalyst that I think Johnny did a beautiful job in the moment to moments where he pulls Stephen out of that mindset. And it's moment to moment and gesture to gesture and little bits of kindness that take us through the trajectory of the story of these two young men, the boys' friendship.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Maria, give like the best description. Going from like bad to better to like top tier.
I mean, Grant can say it too. When the three of us, and I'll let the guys say this, but for me, the trajectory is where we are now and watching it. It's an indie film. At the heart of the indie film is a beautiful story about kindness. And it was all, and I even think our trajectory and the way the three of us came together, Johnny and Grant being friends. Johnny, I directed him in a piece that was a stage production, and how that, just the whole thing, I think the arc of it to where I'm able to articulate what it means and how it's touching people. And that's the other thing. I'm getting feedback from some people that are watching it, and the people that it resonates with, and how they are moved by the story, and how important the story is, and how relatable the characters are, and what the characters go through. So kudos to me. I've been having practice talking it up.
No, it sounds great, but it actually is a really important film, and like I think it's something that we all need, especially just like this day and age. Just like, people are too scared to reach out or, say something because they're scared what the other people might think, or they don't want to help those in need. So I think it is a really important film that you guys made here, and I'm glad that it's going as big as it is. Which is really cool how you guys also, it's an indie film, and how you guys just went from like writing this together. Would you guys ever imagine like now that it's going to be going to this like streaming service where people can, essentially like host their own showing in a theater? Like that's crazy.
It's still just all, it's so hard for it to feel real. Like, but I have like memorabilia from the film in my room, and I'll come home some days and I'll just sit down on my couch and I'll just look at the memorabilia and be like, oh my God, that's like the movie happened.
No, I agree. Like I was home for the holidays with my parents, and we were flicking through the cable channels just to try and find a movie to watch on Christmas, and lo and behold, I saw Reach pop up and was like,
wow.
what? Just
Yeah.
It's
You
just
guys
so
are-
surreal.
It's like I may have pulled that card before, like out with friends, if we're like, you know, in the living room, like, oh, let's like search through movies, and then hey, that one's mine. You know, we made it. It's no big deal. No, I'm just
I'll add this. My dad has been spending some time down in Florida with some friends, and my dad's 80, and his friends are, I'm gonna say anywhere from 68 up to 85, and they hosted a screening in the clubhouse where they actually downloaded it on, is it Vudu?
Yeah,
I think
Voodoo.
Yeah, they downloaded, a bunch of senior citizens downloaded it for like $1.99 free trial on Vudu, and they watched it with popcorn, and you know, then he videoed it and sent it to me. It was very funny.
Oh,
That's
so
surreal.
cute.
That's like kind of cool. Yeah.
That must mean a lot too, because you guys are doing like not only this, but you're doing like your work that you guys love, and also a good message that's getting out there.
Yeah.
This is true.
I'll just say, because at this point, what the goal is for the three of us is to get this to as many people as possible, especially, I mean, I guess when you think about the power of one gesture and how kindness can change a person's life, if this movie is seen by just one person, and I think I'm quoting Grant on this, if this movie can impact and just help one person, then it's all worth it. Did I quote you correctly,
Yep,
Grant?
that's basically what I just all along wanted to form, that one bond, like in the way that in the movie they want to, or Clarence wants to make that connection with Stephen. If we can make that one connection with anyone watching the movie, then we've done our job.
So doing our job beyond that simple statement is really just getting it out there to be seen. And as indie filmmakers, the challenge is, of course, we don't have a large studio behind us. We're raising the money ourselves. And a big part of getting the movie out there, it typically falls on the marketing and advertising budget. And so what we've done is partnered with this distribution company that has a platform that really serves indie filmmakers with social, meaningful messages that they feel align with their company's mission. And in doing that, the film is available at theaters throughout the country and Canada, and major theaters. You just can go on to the website and click host a screening or see the movie, type in your zip code, and you can see if a screening is already taking place. If it's not, you can host the movie by requesting to host it. And then, many of the branded familiar name theaters like Regal, AMC, Landmark, these are the large theaters that are affiliated with this distribution company and participate in that. And then another great way to get this film out to the masses is that there's a public screening opportunity where, if you don't want to go to a commercial theater and host a screening in that venue, and you're more interested in doing something private, like what my dad did for $1.99 watching Voodoo, but you want to do it in a more communal, meaningful event kind of way, say with a high school PTA or a high school theater department, and you want to do this as an assembly in your school or in a library, or at the club and community center in your senior citizen home. You can also arrange to do that. And that's also available through our platform. So this has been our challenge, and this is one of the exciting ways that we're able to get the film directly to audiences in the masses. So you helping us now, Chelsea, with spreading the word to your fan base and your audience is another way to just let people know that it's available. It's a wonderful piece. It was made with heart and meaning, and it's available. Go see it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, of course. And luckily, I think some of my community here said like they've seen it in Malaysia and Mexico, and they're saying it needs to be seen in the Philippines. So I think it's cool. It's not just only having like a resonation with people here, but all over the world, which is cool too. I think Gather right now, you said, is only in like probably America and Canada right now, right? But I'm pretty sure like the public screening they could get in other countries if they wanted to look into it.
Yes, the public licensing is the public screening is available internationally. And then the other thing I will say is that we have an announcement coming soon about international relationships where the film will be brought to certain territories. So we're excited about that as well.
Oh, that's exciting.
And the way to keep up with this is our wonderful website that Grant has worked on, and he can talk a little bit about that, the page and the landing page and all the fun stuff that you can see on the website. But by going to www.themoviereach.com, and that's real important because our website name is different than our social media handles, but it's themoviereach.com, www.themoviereach.com. And then I'll let Grant explain because he really put together a very easy-going, user-friendly.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And guys,
ahead,
real
Grant.
quick, if you hit ! follow Reach, you can get their Twitter, Instagram, and their website right there if you want to click on the link. Sorry. Yes, Grant? Tell us about the website. Sorry. Just want to make sure people are able to grab it.
I mean, we just wanted to create something simple and engaging that people could go, and if they don't necessarily want to type in Gather's username, they can just go to our site and see the video that we've done as far as our announcement with Gather. You can click on host a screening, and you can see if there's screenings taking place near you, and if not, you can request a screening right from our website. You can see all of our lovely cast, like Chelsea and Johnny. And
you. Don't forget Mr. Tony. Don't leave him out.
Who could forget Mr. Tony's bow ties?
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's
why you should host a screening, guys. You gotta see Mr. Tony's bow tie like on the big screen. That's the only.
If there is a screening in LA, I will show up in a bow tie.
Wow.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Let's get that started right now.
We should have bow ties available on the website and let people purchase them.
Why did I not now? That's a great idea.
And what was your necktie during the dance scene?
Oh, that was a bolo tie, like classic, West Texas bolo tie. Oh,
classy.
So classic. Yeah, our wardrobe designer Hannah, I think her dad originally had that, and she was gifted that, and then she let me use that on the movie. So that was very, very nice of her.
Yeah, you know what? Talking about wardrobe and Hannah, I'll just do this in terms of the sense of community that even existed when people came. When people all came to the project, Hannah brought a jacket. Johnny, right? You wore a jacket that was worn by her friend who, I'll let you say it because it's really like it's beautiful how people like the set designer, the art director, even Roy Reed who designed our set, people came to the set with meaning and purpose and a sense of remembering somebody in their life that struggled. So Johnny, go ahead, tell the story.
Oh, well, in the scene when I raised the boombox to kind of get Steven back as my friend again after freaking out on him, I'm wearing a jacket. I wish I remembered his name, but I can't. But it was one of Hannah's friends that passed away.
Oh, that's so sweet.
He unfortunately took his own life, and he actually, oh geez, getting all choked up here. She told me like right as she was like putting it on, like right before I went to go do the scene, and I was just like, oh God, need a minute here. Whoa, I just felt like I couldn't believe she was so invested in our film that we made and our story, and she just willingly gave me that jacket for the scene. Like I just felt like I felt the tremendous honor, to be honest. And it was a pretty surreal moment. And
I actually don't think I knew that story.
Neither did I.
You didn't?
No, and I have goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I couldn't talk about it because I would have just broke down and been like, I need 5 more minutes. But yeah, it was pretty selfless of her. It was pretty awesome.
But the point of that, and not to the point of that is that I do believe everyone who came to the table because of things like that. And there's more stories that we don't even know. But Grant, do you remember? I don't know if you guys remember. Chelsea, you probably don't know this, but Roy Reed, the art director, when he read the script, I received an email. And he's an Emmy-nominated art director. He works on huge budgets and television projects. And we're a little indie film, but I think what it was one of the producers, Autumn, was friends with Roy and knew his personal story and shared the script with him to see if this would be something he would work on. And his response was, I'm in whatever you need. The character, Steve in Toronto, is me. Wow. I was that band geek, that music kid in high school. And this is a story that touches my heart and I'm crying. Like something like, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it was as profound as that, his attraction and desire to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think that was the first, I remember that story and you telling us that story. And that was the first moment where I was like, oh, it's connecting with people.
Yeah.
And then it just kept expanding from there, and other cast members saying they've been affected by it and that's why they wanted to do the movie. And now hearing that story that Johnny just told, it's just wild. It's an honor, frankly.
Yeah.
Such amazing people want to be a part of this project.
That's amazing. And that's probably like a good reason why it's, I guess, doing so well across audiences and stuff. Like, I think I'll be honest, when I read the script, I think that honestly made me push harder to work harder on the script before the audition, because like I was like, this is a project I want to be a part of. Like, this is a really good story.
That's cool.
Thank you. That's very nice.
And Chelsea, I remember your audition. You were so adorable. It was like, I don't even remember anybody else in the room. It's like crazy. And the challenge was that in my mind, I had already cast the other character with my daughter, right? So it was trying to find the right person that would complement and play opposite the tit for tat duo of Emma and Ella. And hands down, there was nobody else but you, babe.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Yeah. Since you're like just on this like topic of just like resonating with the cast, like what made the story like resonate with you guys that you guys wanted to make this movie?
Well, I'll let Johnny talk about that, but I know when he originally approached me with the idea, it was something that just going back to that connecting with people. I mean, like this is probably a tangent, but I went to school at Pepperdine, and that's a school that being of service to your community or connecting with people in that way is a huge part of the education. And so then hearing John's story and what we needed to do with Reach, I was like, yes, this feels right. I need to be a part of this. I don't know. Anyway, I'll let Johnny speak to.
Yeah, well, I mean, the genesis of the story stemmed from experience I had in high school in my senior year when, I don't know, it was a moment in my life, I guess, to use the term, even though I hate it, or I kind of felt like woke in a way. I was just kind of, I was thinking and looking at things differently. I didn't know why. I still don't know why, but like, I just wanted the school I was at. It was huge, it was like 4,000 students, all different walks of life. And I just really I remember making a conscious decision of wanting to bring, everybody together, as opposed to like having the stereotypical cliques and everybody divided. Like I wanted everybody being friends. Like I wanted that to be the cool thing, you know what I mean? And I felt like the position I was in high school, I was able to do that because like I basically was like the host of the high school events, and I was always on the microphone, and that's a whole other ordeal. But I basically used that power that I had within the high school to reach out to certain people that I normally wouldn't reach out to,
Mm-hmm.
And there was a kid, younger underclassman, that I always noticed you know, since I was at the high school, since he was there. But you know, I never said anything, and he kept quiet. And you know, some people would make fun of him. You know, some people would just like question him. You know, it was just not your regular kid. And I decided to reach out and form a friendship. And then later down the line, after graduation, he mentioned how me reaching out to him pretty much saved his life. He was in a really dark place, and just the simple fact of me like saying like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, basically changed his life. And I remember like I was young at the time. You know, I think I was 17, about to be 18, and I realized then, even like, I mean, I realize more now, you know, as a young adult, but it's like it was just the craziest thing to me. Like my whole world was flipped upside down when he told me that, and it just, that's what stemmed the story. And I was like, one day, like I want to tell this story in some fashion. And then from there, you know, spot little notes, and then it's like, okay, how can you turn the story into a film?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking about a friendship, and then just from there, yeah, it just, you know, it went. And then, you know, Grant and Maria, getting both their perspectives, a real story formed. Then I was like, oh, this is becoming a real thing, and I still feel the theme of the genesis of the story in it. You know, it's like it didn't get lost. You know, because that can happen sometimes too. Like you before you know it, you wrote a completely different movie, but
Yeah.
that wasn't the case. I definitely, in all of our writing sessions and all the, you know, the structure of the story to the characters, all of our personal stories, we really put our heart and soul into it, as people do say. We really did do it.
But I'll just add, for me, parallel life, different generation, you know, it's kind of like we're three oddballs, like why I sit and write with, you know, it's like, I would think it is an odd kind of trio. Typically, young people gravitate or meet each other in school, or, you know, in an acting class or a writing class. But my trajectory is that I feel like you meet people and you're exactly where you need to be at a given moment for a reason. So our paths crossed for me in a way that was extremely serendipitous. So I directed a film and cast Johnny as the lead in that film. And I'm sorry, in a play, not a film. A Dog Sees God: Confessions of a Teenage Blockhead. And regardless of the title, the play is about issues that are very important to me as a mom and as an artist and as a human being in this world. And it was about the period of high school and what happens to kids between elementary school and high school, where exactly what John just said creates this divide and this exclusivity of cliques.
Mm-hmm.
And then why does that exclusivity and divide, regardless of the size of the school, because I've seen it, I'm older than everybody on this call, it doesn't matter where you are. School is your biggest community, and it's a place where you repeat, especially high school, no other in any other part of your life on that scale. So why is it that in this divide, in this exclusivity, people are just unkind? We create norms, we treat people, there's no truth in the way, and it just boils down to, you know, misinterpreting that. Anyway, for me, that's why I made the play, and then casting Johnny and the other actors in the play. Johnny, along with the other actors, shared beautiful personal stories, just like John's, about how they were impacted during those years and formative years in high school, and how important and impactful those experiences and memories were, whether they were bullied, stood by and watched and felt helpless, by being restrained from their exclusive clique, or the norms that were set in that environment. And I don't know if I'm getting too psychological here, but my meeting with Johnny and those other young actors precipitated a journey for me to start a documentary. And John knew that I was doing the documentary film Find an Identity, which I'm so happy is almost finally near completion, almost 4.5 years later, where I interviewed and pursued parents, educators, students, as well as clinical psychologists and social workers to identify and understand who am I and how do I fit in? And then lots of good stuff came from that. John shared this story during our character development process, and then he and I connected about 6 months later, and that's when John told me about his idea and that he had roughed out a script and a story about friendship, these two kids, high school, and he was writing with his writing partner, Grant. And I just, like, for me, big light bulb, and just like Grant described Pepperdine service, for me, I felt like there was no way I could not sit down and whether it was facilitate, help, participate, but propel and be involved. And so I'm really grateful, but I do feel like we all came together for very, very specific reasons, and people show up in your lives for specific reasons. And that is the power of the film. So what I just described is exactly what the film is about. How important a little showing up and a little gesture can be, and how far along it can impact somebody.
Wow. That's really beautiful too. Just all of that. So it's like we're all about here. It's just, kindness and helping each other out. And that's like really cool, I think, too, about the thing you guys are doing with Gather, because it is a way for like this movie to get out when like usually it's just such a hard process. I think like a lot of people don't really realize how hard it is even to make a movie. That's the first step, which is like gigantic. And then getting people to see the movie is a whole different thing.
The good news is the movie is available in many, many ways. You can stream it. You can stream it and watch it in the comfort of your own home on your smartphone, your laptop. I believe it still is available on demand in the folders. iTunes and Amazon are the most common apps. So it is available digitally. Also, oh my gosh, Grant, right? We have it available DVD. You can get it from Amazon and own it on a DVD. I think also Walmart. Yeah, physical. Walmart has it as well as Barnes and Noble's online.
Correct.
So these are online. That's another way to own and watch it. And then, of course, we only had it's called a limited theatrical release. When the movie was originally released in October during National Bully Month Prevention and Awareness, that was October of 2018, it also released in 10 cities, and it really was well received. It ran for just 1 week, 10 of the, cities throughout the country, and we got some positive response and some trajectory to propel us into this place where we need to continue to get it out there. And how can we do it? So again, to not repeat, but just to really affirm that it is available in theater near you, and you can go to www.themoviereach.com, our website. There's a beautiful page that you can click on. Grant created. It says host a screening. Is that correct, Grant?
That is correct.
And then all the information is there, and that'll drive you to the page where you have a choice to either see where it's screening and go watch it in a movie, host a screening and gather your community together, or inquire about a public screening license and organizing that. And then I just add a little other twist. We also just learned that someone can actually earn money hosting a screening. You can actually click an option to increase your per ticket price and earn money running a screening.
And you
now we're giving jobs.
Yeah. And you can either make that money yourself, or you can choose to donate that to a charity of your choice. So the world is your oyster.
So that's what I was asked. Is that how the fundraising opportunities work? You just raise the ticket price a bit, and then you can donate the extra money to charity?
Yes, it's $2 of every ticket.
Yes, Grant, I'll just piggyback on that and say for clarification. So there's 3 ways that there's fundraising opportunities here. So the one way is raising the ticket price. As Grant said, you either keep that for your own self for your effort and work, or you can choose to take that upcharge and donate it to your organization or your charity of choice. The second way is we can add a button to your screening page once you decide to host a screening. It's just another step. Mm-hmm. And that button gets added, and that button is a button that is aligned with your specific organization, and it says make a donation. Okay. So that's the second way.
You get a button. You get a button.
You get a button. And then the third way is just knowing that for us, we've already aligned with a couple of organizations, and that's reflected on the Reach page. And you can make a donation directly on the page to the organizations that we've aligned with when you make and when you host a screening.
Okay. Wow. That's really cool. Definitely just like different ways too. If you don't want to just host it and you want to help charity out as well, it's just, it goes hand in hand with the movie too. I had a couple other questions, but I just want to make sure you guys were good before I move on to those. Hold on. Let me check my question room. Yeah. There's 2 different rooms, so you have to check from time to time. Okay, we are good. Yeah, so what charities do you guys align with, just so they know?
If you go to themoviereach.com, you can scroll down and see which organizations we've currently partnered with. We've partnered with Teen Line, the Los Angeles LGBT Center, and then Maria can speak to Ben's Bells, I think, a little bit as well. But some really good organizations to be a part of, or that we've enjoyed working with thus far.
Yeah, so Teen Line is an organization that's it's located here in Los Angeles and Southern California, but it is an international service, and it's teens helping teens. There's a rigorous training program. So there's a physical call center and chat room and online way to communicate with live students that are under supervision by clinical supervision. And it's just teens communicating with teens. So that was an important organization for us to align with, because I feel like they're really doing the work that needs to be done, which is Clarence listening to Stephen Toronto and Stephen Toronto listening to Clarence as an example kind of thing. The LGBT Center, Los Angeles in particular, just because we're physically located here, but we are expanding that relationship to other centers throughout the country. And then Ben's Bells is a organization that was created out of the Newtown Sandy Hook shooting in Connecticut years ago. That organization was created out of that tragedy, and it's about kindness, and so that's the explanation there. And we're in the process of exploring some larger alliances, and that will be announced soon. And always, again, www.themoviereach.com, as well as all our social media for all those kind of updates and things. But we're talking to some other folks.
Cool. One big question too, I think everyone had, you guys are all writers, producers, and then actors in the movie as well. How hard is that juggling, doing that all?
Oh boy.
And the chuckles, I assume, a lot.
I think Johnny's the main offender here, offender being the wrong word, but he had a huge task of being one of the leads and then doing work as well. So, I mean...
Yeah, but, I mean, I have to be honest. I mean, it's no secret. When it came to producing, Grant and Maria definitely took more of the wheel and did, in my opinion, the hardest stuff that you have to do to get the movie made. So, like, that is a big weight that I didn't juggle. But speaking from just the writing and the acting and the little producing, it's something I literally battle with every day, to be honest with you. It's just like, it's, you know, where to hone your energy, and then like I'll feel like I'm on a good run, and then it's like you have a breakdown and you're like, oh, I'll just look at it all as one thing. It's all one thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll tell myself that, and that works sometimes, but most of the time it's just like shutting yourself up and focusing on what is clicking in the moment. Like if I'm really feeling writing or feeling my headspace is in writing, then I'll do that. Same thing with acting. But when it came to physically doing it, it was a totally different story. It was like, you know, it was up and down and sideways and backwards, but you're just so happy that you're getting it done, you know? It just comes down to just getting it done, because if you don't, then it's over, you know? So
yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it really, but
well,
I will say it was a handful, but it's obviously totally worth it when you're doing it for something that you love, you know?
Johnny, you're minimizing really what you did, and I'll just from a hoverboard and from being a senior on the project, and you know, and even Grant, the thing is that first of all, to be the amount of creative energy is exhausting to do the task that you know, these two, I'm going to say it, these two young men did. And it's right. You are right. It is very hard to make a movie. I'm going to say from an observatory standpoint and just understanding what needed to be done, and then even reflection, because now I have a couple of other things under my belt since we did this, started this journey. You have to focus on the specific task and wear the hat that is most important at that given moment. There is no one, there are many phases to this process of filmmaking. So when you're writing, if you're the lead in the story and you have to narrate the story, and you have that, just like you, Chelsea's described earlier, you really read the script, you focused on that part, even though it wasn't a large part, but you focused to make sure that your scene really nailed it. Well, John, that's exactly what you did when you needed to be the actor. And then Grant also, who had a very important part, you know, the teacher part in this, as well as the other adult parts, was also important. So Grant too, the pieces of the puzzle is very specific. You have to focus on the specificity of what's at hand, and then surround yourself with people that you trust. And I was able to be the hoverboard or the helicopter, you know, I want to say parent. And I use that analogy because, you know, that's kind of like what I really know, but just making sure that everybody was thriving in their role. So Grant was really instrumental, and I would look to Grant when I needed help or things, but I respected Grant's space when he was on set. And because his role as an actor wasn't as large as Johnny's, Johnny was looked on, and we interfered with his acting responsibility and process less so he could focus. And Grant also was able to balance that out, and then he would come to me. So am I describing that pretty accurately?
No, I think you're correct in the sense of, like, I know like you said, my time wasn't as large as Johnny's, but I did request that those few days I was shooting Mr. Tony that I have far less producer duties so that I could focus on the role at hand. But it's just like Maria perfectly said, just wearing the hat that needs to be worn at any given time and putting your energy and focus into that.
And I'll just say out there to anyone that's aspiring to do this, the same idea that we just talked about wearing that hat at that specific time. First of all, start small steps. So it's a big daunting task that's very large, and it could feel overwhelming, and it may feel impossible, but the possibility exists in the small things. Again, you know, it's like small things matter, small gestures, small moments. But in this instance of a big project that might feel daunting, just, you know, pick up your camera, pick up your phone, shoot something and try to tell a story in 3 minutes. And then you go from there, and then you sit, and if your strength is writing, then sit and write a page. Turn that page into 2 pages, 3 pages, and see if you can say something in that page or those pages. So I guess really what I want to say is, how did we do it? How did we wear all these hats? If I were to tell somebody one piece of advice, it's just to start and to do it, and then just to do it small and baby steps. And if you do something every day and then you put 30 days together, well, that's 30 small things that you did. That's then a cumulative effort.
Man, I love how inspirational you guys are. That's like really helpful too for anyone. Like, I think just in anything, just baby steps to where you want to go, and eventually you'll get there.
Yeah,
Just
eventually
keep chipping away.
I have a quick question from PKler in our chat. They want to know, for Johnny and Grant, did writing it help you connect to your character more?
Oh, 100%. I called it, I remember at one point I called it, like, it's like almost like cheating. It really is. I mean, yeah. I mean, the answer is yeah, for sure. You definitely feel more liberated, I would say, as opposed to, you know, auditioning and being a part of someone else's movie. Like, you know, for instance, your case, like,
Yeah.
because when you just have it in you that, like, well, oh, we wrote this damn thing, you know.
I would almost, like, I agree partially with that, but I know from my perspective, I had a challenge connecting to Mr. Tony after writing it for so long, to the point where I had a couple conversations with our teacher, the teacher that Johnny and I study with right now, to sort of try and get a different perspective on Mr. Tony, which that helped greatly. But, but the writing, yeah, that is definitely helpful to know.
Yeah, I definitely did the check, like, you know, 2 or 3 times before filming with 2 or 3 different respected teachers or mentors, just to make sure I wasn't going off the rails. It's like, I'm right here, right? You know, with acting and stuff like that.
Yeah, your guys' acting is really, really good too. Like, there's just some scenes that are just so dramatic and so heartbreaking. Like, you're crying, we're crying.
Well, that obviously is very nice. And you can't help but blush when somebody says that.
Are you blushing, Johnny?
Oh, big time.
Yeah. I'll just add to the 2 guys again. They're being modest. I feel that first of all, there was nobody else that could play the role of Clarence West. So writing the script, having that story, coming from the genesis of Johnny James Fiore, when I came on board, there was no one else that I could see do it and do it with justice. Grant's story is a little bit different because we started, you know, almost 4 years prior to actually casting. Grant's narrative and voice and experience is a through line in many of the characters. And although we originally thought Grant could play one of the other characters, coming into the role of Mr. Tony, I feel I'll say it right now, Grant, on live, you really created somebody that we didn't even write. You brought your breath of a part of you that's not who you are, you know, in real life, but you created somebody and drew upon your sensibility, your sensitivities as a human being, and being a little bit older than everyone else, and being then that, making that connection, which I think is really important in the story of being a young teacher and having an impact on high school student. Because let's face it, you could graduate from college and start teaching and you're only 23, 24, 25 years old, and you're working with youth who are not that much younger than you. So we originally wrote the role Mr. Tony, and in our minds had a much older teacher in mind. And then Grant stepped into that role and really made it what it was, which I feel like is a very integral part and important message for young teachers to understand the value that they have and the impact they can make on their students. So kudos, Grant Harling.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, you definitely feel that relationship because Clarence is helping Steven, yes, but I feel like Mr. Tony, in a way, helped push Clarence in a big way to actually like help and reach out and to help him himself when he was going through a hard time.
I would agree with that. That was definitely some a part of some conversations that were had as far as Mr. Tony creating a safe space in that school for the students to fail and be okay with it and be themselves. Because in the rest of the movie, there's not a lot of safe spaces. There's parents that are angry a lot of the time, or other students that are bullying, and that Mr. Tony's classroom was that one reprieve from all that. So thank you.
I think you guys did like a really good job in like, I guess, conveying the message you guys wanted to get across. I have 2 more questions and then we'll wrap it up so I don't keep you guys too long. But is that like what you guys like hope people get when seeing the movie? Like, what do you hope they get out of the movie after seeing it?
Can I just say it really fast because I tend to talk a lot. I want people to, so creating awareness, everybody's already aware that these issues exist. So we're not looking to just create awareness. It's really, for me personally, and I feel like I'm echoing the entire group, it's joining the conversation, and that conversation is understanding that there are things, we're not powerless. There are things that are in our power that we can do in spite of the system, the norm of a particular group, the bigger picture. Join the conversation and let's talk about the actions that we have the power to implement that can have a positive impact on creating change. That's what I hope. Parents, teachers, and students alike. Parents, teachers, and students alike, and grandparents, because we live in a world where we have untraditional, parenting and family structures, and it's about understanding just inclusivity, including and joining the conversation. We all want the same thing, to feel valued and loved, even if it's in the smallest moments. That's what I want to say. That's what I want people to get from this. Join the conversation.
Absolutely. It's something that needs to be talked about, and it's something that's not currently talked about enough. So yeah, if we can use this movie as a way to start that conversation, then perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have to agree, and especially with the power thing, realizing your own power. And I hope people who watch it could have their own opinion and not be scared to share it. Like if it affects them and they feel like they want to do things differently or stand up or speak out or join the conversation, that they shouldn't feel scared to do so. Because in our, like you mentioned earlier on, like the time that we're in today, it's just people are scared of what people think. And a lot of people will have an opinion, but it's not necessarily their opinion. It's just kind of recycled from what they've seen and what's hot and what's popular. So I would just hope people have genuine feelings after seeing the film. That makes sense.
That's a really a sweet message to put out there and to hope people get. And I think it does come across as that. So thank you guys again for just like writing this type of movie and putting it out there for people. Because again, you guys took the initiative to basically like reach out to essentially the world, taking a step towards that, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Chelsea, as always, this is the second time you've had me on personally, and you are definitely a beautiful, wonderful spirit and advocate to this message and to us and to this film. So we greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I hope that we were able to give some value to the people that are listening to you.
Yeah, I think you absolutely did. I think it's like a message, again, just like reassuring it to them as well. Like they're all happy. They seem like, they're really agreeing. And it's a message that we talk a lot about here. So I think just having other people come on and like say it too really does help. Before you go and before we do this, I have to ask one dumb question that I ask every guest on here. And since like Johnny and Grant are new, you can like re-say it to Maria if you want. So if you can bring any superhero with you into the zombie apocalypse, we have to know who it is.
Oh, wow.
God.
Oh, that's oh no.
Oh my God. I have so many answers. How am I going to pick one?
We can narrow it down to like Marvel.
I'll be cliche.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Wonder Woman.
Ooh, I like her.
What, not Captain Marvel?
I haven't seen that yet. I was gonna say Captain Marvel, but I'm gonna go tomorrow to see it. So maybe
so good.
Next time I'll change my answer.
I loved it so much.
Can I say the cat from Captain Marvel? Is that
Goose?
technically a superhero?
Oh.
Chelsea, have you seen it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think it's a good answer.
Okay, either that or Spider-Man, because then he could like grab them all with his webs and then just move the zombies out of the way. That's what I'll say.
Oh God. I'm gonna say Captain Marvel.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like these answers.
I just watched it. I really loved it. I knew nothing about Captain Marvel going into it, and I love that sometimes. Going into a movie not having any preconceived idea, and I was blown away. And the acting and just her powers, everything about it, I just thought was so awesome. I totally geeked out. So I'm gonna say Captain Marvel.
Oh, these are all really good choices. Real fast, Grant. Ender says, just don't pet Goose too much. Oh my gosh.
Your answer, Chelsea.
Mine's Doctor Strange, because I feel like if anything happens, we can just like revert time, or we can just open a portal and like shove the people in, or zombies, put them in a different time zone or a different country or something.
That's a really good answer, man.
Put them all into space and we're done with the apocalypse.
Okay, you've thought about this way more than we have.
Yeah,
that's
that's
impressive.
That's why it's my favorite question that I have to ask every guest who comes on.
I just want to wear the suit. You know what I mean? I just want to wear the outfit, and I want to fantasize that my old lady body can still look like that.
Yes.
You're not old. Stop it.
Well, I'm not as young as you, Mr. Harling.
Maria for Wonder Woman. We can get this.
She was pregnant during the making of the movie.
Brie Larson?
No.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Gal
crazy?
Gadot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like, how much more of a statement can you make? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
So badass.
So
I
powerful.
felt my most powerful in my life during pregnancy, too. It's quite an empowering thing to carry a human being inside your belly.
Could imagine.
It's alien-like.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's crazy. You are actually Wonder Woman. I believe Maria is actually Wonder Woman. All the stuff she's done.
Dun, da, da, da. Okay, guys. I really love and adore you all. And I, again, grateful. Thank you, Chelsea, so much for having me on and the team.
Of course. Thank you guys so much.
This was so fun.
Really?
I know. I would love to do this again. This was so much fun.
Yeah. I'll have to you guys come back on and just like talk about acting or whatever. That'd be really fun. Thank you again so much for taking the time out. And again, just like putting this message out and helping me help you guys share it as well. Again, guys, you can go to www.themoviereach.com to like host a screening, check out everything. Also, if you want to follow Grant, Maria, and Johnny, their Instagrams are in the chat. Just who is Johnny, who is Grant, and who is Maria, and you guys will get them. If you guys will stay on for 1 second, I'll just say bye to chat. Chat, just hold on. I'll be back after I say bye to them. It's very confusing. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Thank you again for coming on.
Bye.
For having us.
Bye.